Hello, I'm Lina Ahmoudou in for Esther Gitui Ewart. It's Wednesday, August 3rd. This is Africa 54.
The Kenya presidential election is less than a week away, and the race is extremely tight. A child has become the latest victim of Ghana's first ever outbreak of the deadly Marburg virus. Fusing recycling technology and finance, a Nigeria startup helps businesses and households sell off their recyclable waste at premium prices. All this and much more on today's Africa 54.
On Tuesday, Kenyan voters go to the polls to choose a successor to President Uhuru Kenyatta. The latest opinion poll indicates former Prime Minister Raila Odinga is leading by 6 percentage points over Deputy President William Ruto. The two men are the leading candidates. On the scene in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, is Africa 54 managing editor Vincent Makori. Hello, Vincent. Election day is just 6 days away on Tuesday, August 9th. Tell us more about what's coming up and what is the mood like? What are people talking about?
Well, there is excitement, Lino, here in Nairobi. And as I stand here, it's kind of starting to rain. Perhaps that's a good sign, as they say here. Well, generally, people are excited in this countdown as the campaigns actually heat up and officially are supposed to end on Saturday. The talk of town has been more about the polls that you just referenced to, whereby those who are supporters of William Ruto are saying perhaps there's some kind of suspicion about the numbers because they don't trust the polling companies. But at the same time, those who are supporters of Raila Odinga are excited somewhat cautiously because of the numbers they're seeing that their candidate is leading. But at the same time, people are very, very careful about those numbers because they know there's so many undecided voters, and therefore there's a likelihood that in the very last few days, people could switch sides and tilt the scales whichever way you may think of. I mean, the other thing, again, that has been a talk of town today is the alert that was issued by the U.S. Embassy regarding the lakeside city of Kisumu. They cautioned Americans against being there or going there around this time of the election, and many people are questioning why Kisumu. Some were kind of disturbed. I thought it is ill-advised, but the embassy clarified that today and said it's a normal alert that they issue many times during election time. Other than that, actually, the country is calm. People are engaging in normal conversations and looking forward to what's going to happen, and at the same time hoping that it will be all peaceful up to the end.
So, Vincent, what is the sentiment in terms of people's confidence in this process this time around? There have been violence in the past with Kenyan's election. Are there concerns?
Oh, yes. I mean, people still have questions about the Electoral Commission, the electoral body, because the history of that electoral body has been really kind of tattered because every election has left a sour taste in people's mouths. And even today, they are looking cautiously to see, with all the assurances that the Electoral Commission has given, whether this election will be conducted in a fashion that at the end of the day will be considered free, fair, and credible. So there's confidence to some degree, but, if history is to go by, the electoral body is yet to conduct an election where people will feel so comfortable and confident that everything happened as it was supposed to happen. So it's all a question of what will be the situation on Wednesday after the election takes place. That's when we will know for sure whether people will give it a passing grade or once again they'll go back and to times past where they will cast doubt on the final results of this election.
So what are the main takeaways that people share with you in terms of the outgoing government and the administration? What do you say, what do people tell you in terms of what they're looking forward to?
Well, first is a mixed bag of things from the looking at the current administration. Some see development, especially on the infrastructure side for the last several years. But some also are looking at how people have suffered economically. The economy hasn't done well. Most people are really hurting. There's a high level of joblessness, and they're looking for a president who will help create job opportunities, especially for the young people, but also alleviate people from the state of poverty, and at the same time assure people of their safety in this country. So there's a lot to look forward to.
Thank you so much, Vincent Makori. We have to leave it there. Thank you so much. Africa 54 Managing Editor Vincent Makori reporting from Nairobi, Kenya. Among 4 candidates who are running for the presidency in the election is Advocate David More Wahiga. More believes he is the change in leadership that is needed to beat the corruption endemic in Kenya. Victoria Amunga reports from Nairobi.
Relatively new to many in Kenya's political scene is David Mwaure, an attorney who has been practicing law for the last 35 years. He completed his law degree in 1981 at the University of Nairobi. Born and raised in Kenya's Nakuru County, Mwaure entered into politics in 2002 at the height of national clamor to push former President Daniel Moi out of power. He later founded Agano political party in 2006. Agano means covenant in Swahili.
It came at a time when, I put it this way, as an ordained minister, of course, I used part of scripture, when it appeared like going to heaven would have been easier than getting a nomination ticket. It was often given to those who are very well connected or who had a lot of money.
As a freshman in Kenya's politics, Mr. Mwaure first set his eyes on a parliamentary seat at his hometown, but dropped out of the race before elections. He unsuccessfully contested another parliamentary seat in Nairobi County 2007.
Bad things happen because good people don't get involved. Bad leaders also come into leadership because people who are like me, a lawyer for more than 35 years, having everything I would want in terms of daily life, thankfully I'm able to put food on the table, but a lot of Kenyans are suffering.
Mwaure later moved to Kenya's coastal county, Lamu, for a business venture. The political bug beat him again, and he vied for Lamu's county's governor's seat in 2013. He lost the election, finishing third behind 2 opponents. Mwaure, who's also an ordained minister, is making a second stab at the presidency after he previously presented himself for the position in 2010, but soon after bowed out. This time round, Mwaure is in the race and will square out with the seasoned politicians, Kenya's Deputy President William Ruto, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, and a newcomer Professor of Law George Wajackoyah.
I am coming to give Kenyans a clean start. I am coming to sort of go back to where we were at crossroads, and different nations took a different turn. Now they are far away, and Kenya did not.
His manifesto outlines numerous proposals for eliminating corruption, wastage and mismanagement of public resources.
Welcome, Mr. Wahiga, to this debate. Thank you.
According to a July poll opinion survey by Trends and Insights for Africa, TIFA, Mwaure obtained a tiny amount of support in the survey. However, he maintains confidence he will win in the August election. Victoria Amunga for VOA News, Nairobi.
This represents my inner me.
Also among the 4 candidates vying to become Kenya's next president is George Wajackoyah. He is a lawyer and former spy who once went into exile in Britain. Running on a promise to legalize marijuana, Wajackoyah's campaign has elicited excitement among the youth population and drawn a sharp criticism from religious leaders in the largely Christian nation. Juma Majonga reports from Nairobi, Kenya.
Professor George Luchiri Wajackoyah, a man with no known political pedigree, but who has bluffed and blasted his way into the psyche of Kenyan politics. Born 60 years ago in Indagalasia village in rural Western Kenya, Wajakoya has been quoted in various forums saying he grew up as a street boy at some point in his life. Later, he managed to attend school and after completing high school, joined the National Spy Agency. On his own account, Wajakoya was later to flee the country to seek exile in Britain. Details on his spy career and circumstances that forced him to seek asylum abroad remain scanty. His eccentric style is seen by some as a total contradiction of the educated, widely travelled and well-spoken man. His Roots Party's manifesto is unprecedented in Kenya's political history. He promises to execute those who found to have committed corruption offences, reduce the working week to 4 days, and legalize marijuana, among other oddities.
How does he get the media to talk about him? And maybe attract a lot of young people. Some of them don't have any votes, but they are attracted anyway.
He says he does not smoke marijuana, but his crusade on the illegal substance in Kenya has caught the attention of admirers and critics alike.
Because we are jobless, we don't have money. So if he has an idea that can help us get money, we are okay, we will do it.
Planting of bangi will cause many youths to use it, of which we'll have so many people with mental incapacitations.
Religious leaders in the largely Christian Kenya have condemned Wajakoya's campaign manifesto, accusing him of, quote, promoting evil and immoral vices. This year's presidential contest in Kenya is touted to be a two-horse race between Deputy President William Ruto and veteran opposition leader Raila Odinga, who now has the backing of President Kenyatta. Political commentators, however, say other players like Wajakoya could cause disruptions because to win a presidential poll, a candidate must garner at least 50% plus one of the votes.
The likelihood of Wajakoya garnering 500,000 votes, between 500,000 and 1 million, is there.
He has run on what is perhaps the most controversial platform in Kenya's political campaign history. And as Kenyans head to cast their votes, George Wajakoya's candidature will remain a subject of discussion for some time. Juma Majanga for VOA News, Nairobi.
As we've mentioned, Kenyan voters head to the polls on August 9th. In our series, We Are Kenyans, VOA Swahili spoke to several Kenyans about their current challenges and their hopes for the incoming president. Here is our feature on local entrepreneur Jonathan Kimanzi.
Corruption has really affected my life in one way or another, because if there is corruption, it means that some project which can benefit me, direct or indirect, they would be finished, and due to that I may not get the services which I need. I expect the new government to look much about the cost of living. Currently we are very suffering because the food is very high, and now being a local businessman, I'm being affected. For example, the price of fuel has really affected much of our earnings, because now if I get like 2,000 per day, it means that I will divide half of that money to cater for my fuel. So that one has really affected us. We need a leader who is able to who is able to do good, especially to the common citizen. Because if we get a leader who is not focusing much about the local people, we may not get the leader we need. Exactly, yes, I fought. We have several presidential candidates. Everyone has got his or her own manifesto. So they have told us what they want to do to us. When I arrived to the polling station, I will vote according to the way I think your manifesto is favoring me as a common citizen. Okay, I expect the coming election to be very peaceful because we Kenyans, we have an experience. We know what happened last elections. So we have learned our lesson, and we know after voting, we need one another every time. So I expect it to be very peaceful.
Be sure to join us Thursday for another episode of We Are Kenyan, featuring Kenyan restaurant owner Obado Obado. We are excited to know what you think about Africa 54. Join the discussion on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We are also streaming our broadcast live on Facebook. Please watch and share our show with your friends. Also, check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, a child is the latest victim of Ghana's first ever outbreak of the Marburg virus.
On the next Straight Talk Africa, we'll take a look at the information wars and the various ways political narratives can shape our perception of reality. We'll look at how this happens across Africa and in other countries around the world. And a new Voice of America documentary will introduce you to several African millionaires in the diaspora. Join me, Heidi Adams, on the next Straight Talk Africa.
From around the world, let's go.
Health, wellness, sport, beauty, medical breakthroughs. Healthy Living cares about your well-being. What are the main health concerns in Africa and around the world? Find out the latest on coronavirus. Connect with our experts and ask them questions.
How long does the virus stay?
Join me, Linor Mudu, in Washington, every week on Healthy Living, right here on VOA.
Burkina Faso army says that civilians have been killed in an airstrike against jihadists. Local citizens say around 30 people had died, most of whom were women. The Democratic Republic of Congo has asked the spokesman of the UN peacekeeping mission, Matthias Gilman, to leave the country. DRC officials blame him for stoking tensions that led to deadly protests last week. And a Nigerian judge has thrown out a case against 47 men charged with public displays of affection with members of the same sex, in a case seen as a test of the country's law banning homosexual relations. The World Health Organization says a child has become the latest victim of Ghana's first ever outbreak of the deadly Marburg virus. David Doyle has the details.
A child has died after contracting the highly infectious Marburg virus in Ghana, a World Health Organization official said on Tuesday. That death brings the total number of fatalities to 3 since the start of the West African country's first ever outbreak of the disease. The child, whose gender and age were not disclosed, was one of 2 new cases reported by the WHO last week. WHO Dr. Ibrahima Sochefal said one of those cases was the wife of Ghana's first Marburg case, the other his child. The WHO has previously said the first 2 cases, found in Ghana's southern Ashanti region, had symptoms including diarrhea, fever, nausea and vomiting, before dying in hospital. Marburg is an Ebola-like virus that is transmitted to people from fruit bats. It spreads among humans through direct contact with bodily fluids, surfaces and materials. Ghana's outbreak is only the second in West Africa, with the first ever case in the region detected in Guinea last year.
That was David Doyle of Reuters reporting. South African police have arrested more than 40 men over suspected illegal mining in Krugersdorp outside Johannesburg. Authorities in Gauteng province have stepped up their operations against illegal miners in recent days following reports of the gang rapes of 8 women and armed robbery of a video production crew. The suspects in that case are allegedly illegal miners, but none of those detained on Tuesday have been directly linked to the incident, which outraged the Krugersdorp community. The Gauteng Police Commissioner, Lieutenant General, says while the 40 men were arrested for their own deeds, the process of taking DNA samples and fingerprints could help other investigations. Fusing recycling, technology, and finance, clean tech startup ScrapPays continues to lead in its venture as it helps businesses and households to sell off their recyclable waste conveniently and at premium prices. For more, Africa 54 tech correspondent Paul Ndiho spoke to Bolu Arewa, a tech entrepreneur and co-founder of ScrapPays Technologies in Lagos, Nigeria.
Bolu Moses Arewa, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you so much.
You are one of those incredibly talented people who decided to come up with an initiative that not only is it helping to clean the environment in Nigeria, but you are creating employment. People come to you for recyclables. You're using technology to do that. Bring me up to speed.
All right, Paul. Thank you for asking that strategic question. It's about the environment, but beyond environment is economically empowering people, right? And that's we've been able to use the ScrapPays solution model to capture these very important spectrums. And in simple terms, what we do is to use technology and a very unique model to allow people own their own mini recycling business. Basically created a structure that allows people to thrive, people that know nothing about recycling, people that have been in this industry for a couple of years. And the power of technology is the power of multiplication and making things go at scale. We've allowed individuals, enterprises who produce recyclables waste on a day-to-day basis get a value of it. We collect across 13 different material types and also collect what we refer to as we call them composite materials. Maybe during when we talk further, I will tell you about it. So things like your old household, bad AC, bad generator, a couple of those things, because those things are recyclables. They contain components when, disintegrated, are independent recyclable items.
When you talk to some of these people who are working in those informal markets, they see these things every day, but they really have no value. What are the kinds of stories you get from them? What is it that you are trying to help them accomplish?
It's totally informal. There are no ways for them to earn higher, scale up what they are doing, right? And it's basically, they can't even, track, because within our solution, there is inventory system, you know what you are making. In fact, while you are collecting those things, while it's yet to be, off taken from you, you can track, okay, I have X amount of kilogram, this is my projected earnings, this is my projected margin. So more or less, you can, visualize, you can engage. I'll give you an example, and that's the power of technology. There's one woman called, her name is Fashion, right? And the good thing about this is this particular person does not know anything about recycling before she started. Over the past 4 months that she has been with Scrappies, this woman has made about 2,000, I'm trying to do the calculation, 2,350 USD, right? And that is massive, especially that these people are low to bottom, of the pyramid people, right? This is like almost 20x in our revenue.
You recently won one of the most prestigious awards on the continent. You won the African Startup Award. Can you tell me more about that?
The African Startup Award is, under the umbrella of the Global Startup Award. It's done, continentally, right? And it's for me, the award is not just an award. It's basically, an ecosystem that builds, the next solution breeders of Africa. And what that award basically does is to give thriving ecosystem for young and budding entrepreneurs from even access to funding, access to ecosystem support, access to even the founders network, partnerships and the likes, and really being one of the awardees as not only changed personally for me, but has also affected Scrappies, which is my organization.
You've built a system and the technology behind it. What is Scrappy all about?
In simple terms, what Scrappy does is a combination of recycling, finance, and technology, right? We've been able to build a solution that literally allows anyone to start up their own mini recycling business. Your waste is now a currency.
I like that. I think let's end it there. Thank you so much for your time.
That was Pauline Diho speaking to Bolu Arewa, a tech entrepreneur and co-founder of Scrappies Technology in Lagos, Nigeria. That's our show for today. Thanks for joining us. Good night.